Hi guys, my name is Rayan, and I am making this video for my final Korean project in my Korean food cultures class. We had to choose an authentic Korean dish to cook and bring to class, and the one that I chose was jjajangmyeon. But before I start off with the recipe for this food item, I'm gonna give you guys some information on the history of jjajangmyeon in Korea, in South Korea. Basically, this food is dated all the way back to the 50s and actually all the way back to the 1900s, like 1905. It was introduced in a Chinese restaurant in Incheon, Chinatown, which was run by a Chinese immigrant. And the restaurant now is actually the Jjajangmyeon Museum in Incheon. And then in the mid-50s, South Korea, soon after the Korean War, jjajangmyeon was sold at low prices so that anyone could eat it without having to worry about the price. So from then on, it just kept gaining popularity in Korea, and especially all around the world, all around the world also. So, some personal information on how I first ate jjajangmyeon. Well, I've never really had a liking or interest for Korean culture or any other culture in general. But this all started when in middle school, my friends are really into the Korean culture, so they would tell me to watch this K-drama called Dream High, and I was like, what is that? And they were like, you should just watch it, it's really good. It's about like a high school dynamic, and I'm like, what? I've never ever watched any other different language other than, I'm Filipino. I've never watched any other shows or movies that was not in Tagalog, which is the language for the Philippines, or in English. And I was really hesitant on watching it, but she was very insistent, so I ended up watching it and I ended up loving it. This is when my interest in Korean culture started, and throughout the years I kept watching more Korean dramas, and then I branched out to variety shows. And I first saw jjajangmyeon on an episode of Running Man, and they were eating it during one of the games, and basically they looked like they were having so much fun, but they had to play a game in which they would say a word and then the last syllable has to be said by the next person in the first word. I don't know what that game is called, but it looks really fun. Basically, the reward was they would get to eat jjajangmyeon if their team won. So I saw this food item and I was like, what is that? That kind of looks really gross. And knowing me, I'm a very picky eater. And I was like, wow, I would never want to try that. It looks gross, but they look like they're really enjoying it, so it probably tastes really good. Fast forward later on, as I said, I just kept watching a lot of K-dramas, and my love for Korean culture kind of just grew bigger. And just this summer, my family and I went to Korea and Japan after visiting the Philippines, and I got to experience Korea firsthand, and it was great. I had a lot of food, and believe it or not, I've actually never had jjajangmyeon up until this day, until I actually went to Japan. It wasn't even in Korea. I didn't even get to have jjajangmyeon in Korea, but I did have Korean barbecue and bibimbap. But yeah, I've just never had jjajangmyeon. Once I got to Japan, that's when we were in a mall and there was this authentic Korean restaurant, so I was like, okay. And it was the cheapest menu item, so I was like, maybe it's time to try this now. I've seen my friends try it in the past and I'm like, like I said before, I'm a picky eater, so I just never wanted to try it. But this time I was like, you know what? I'm already in Asia, I might as well try it. So I did try it and I loved it. I loved it so very, very much. And that's why I decided to cook it for my Korean dish for this final project. So the recipe that I use is from my Korean kitchen, but basically I changed it up a little because I know the traditional jjajangmyeon has pork and I don't eat pork. So it's because of religious reasons. Basically, this involved me using beef, rice wine, salt, pepper, ginger powder, Korean black bean paste, brown sugar, rice wine, chicken. Actually, I did not use chicken stock. I used beef stock because I used beef in my jjajangmyeon, and my mom thought that it would match up more. I also used starch water. Um, and yeah, I didn't put any toppings on top, although I know like jjajangmyeon usually has toppings, but when I was at Galleria, I forgot to buy the toppings, so yeah. Um, I also bought traditional Chinese noodles. I bought potatoes to add to the sauce and mushrooms and onions. So to prep, I kind of just defrosted or thawed the beef and then I marinated them with salt and pepper and ginger powder. Then I cut up the onion and potatoes into really small cubes. Then I sliced the mushrooms. Then I preheated a wok, like those big metal bowls on the stove, and then I put oil in it, and I put the black bean paste in, and then I cooked that for 2 to 3 minutes, and then I put the brown sugar in, and I mixed everything together. Then I scooped out the black bean paste without the oil, and then I put the meat into the wok with the oil, and then that's when I started putting other stuff, the veggies like potatoes, onions, and mushrooms, and I was mixing it, just cooking it, and then after 5 minutes tops, I put in the black bean again, once again, and that's when I mixed it. Then I added some water, and the starch water, which kind of thickened the sauce after adding the water. And then while that was cooking on the side, I cooked the noodles. I boiled the noodles and I cooked them. I drained them. And then, yes, that was the end. Basically, it took me a total of probably an hour because it was my first time making it and I had to gather all the ingredients properly. But it tasted really good. I got my whole family to taste it and they agreed with me. And yeah, I'm so glad that this was a success because I've always wanted to learn like the Korean language, the Korean culture ever since I started watching K-dramas, and this class has been a great eye-opener for that, I guess, especially when it comes to food. It's also given me opportunities to branch out to different foods, and that's kind of like what this personally means to me, this class, and making jjajangmyeon, because the point is like you shouldn't judge something by the way it looks because it's probably going to be amazing and it will give you a really good experience. Food just speaks in different levels that words can't, and it's amazing. But yeah, thank you for watching my video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.